Hello, family. Welcome, welcome, welcome to my go-to shoe, Faith, Hope, and Love, a journey through loss, live on, strengthen soul. And of course, before we get started, like, subscribe, and share. Press the notification button so you know when I'm coming back. So, first and foremost, thank you for just listening to me. I'm thanking you to allowing me to come into your home and just talk to you. So I really do appreciate each one of you much more than you really realize. So I just wanted you to know this is a big hug from me to you. Love y'all so very much. So I hope everyone's been doing well this last week. The weeks come fast. I mean, it's almost August. It's like, what in the world? By the time you get this, it'll be August. Wow. Time is flying by. But today we're going to talk about that seventh stage of grief. It's that final stage. And doesn't mean because you're at the final stage that you're good. It just means that you're in that you may be in that stage of acceptance after you've gone through the different stages, and they can come at different times because each one of us is very different. We've talked about the first six. We've talked about shock. We've talked about denial, anger, bargaining, depression, finding meaning, and so now we're at that we're at that seventh stage, which is the final stage, which is acceptance and hope. Accepting that which you've gone through and acknowledging that acceptance of what you've gone through with that loss. And it's interesting. I think about, right now we're talking about the death of a loved one, but there's other losses too. And maybe I'll talk about that first for just a moment. When I think about, I was an IBMer for 15 years, and I always thought that I would be at IBM until I retired and I'd get that gold watch because they had these little jewels that you would get. And I remember when L'Oreal at the time bought IBM at my division. And I remember when we got the letter saying that we had got acceptance letters that we all had jobs. And then a month later, I never forget, it was a month later, we got letters saying that your services were no longer needed and that you would be laid off. And I remember thinking, when you think that you're going to have something forever, it's always going to be there, and then all of a sudden they tell you, no, this is not the case. And you had all the good benefits, you had all the good stuff, right? In fact, back then, we never had to pay for benefits. Can you imagine? When I think about that now, I remember when they first told us we had to start paying for benefits, everybody was like, what? Because we didn't have to, when I think about that now, how did they do that? But for many years that I worked there, we didn't pay for health benefits, and we got the best health care. So, that was a major loss for me at that particular time in my life, to lose a job. It was major. And I remember, that word acceptance is when you start to recognize that you have to accept what you've lost. And I remember, kind of like days just thinking about, what am I going to do now? I don't have that security that I thought I had all my life, that I thought I would always have, and not even have to think about. At that time, that was a big deal because people weren't really laying people off at that time, at least that I knew of. So I had to accept it and move forward. And I guess, in my life, I've always tried to move forward no matter what is going on. I continue to progress forward. I always say this too, and I don't know if I've ever said to you all, but I don't have give up in me. There's no give up. I can't give up. There's no give up. Don't give up. You just cannot, just like I say, hashtag keep it moving, hashtag don't give up. I forgot, I used to say that all the time. There's no give up in me. I'm going to get it done no matter what happens. I'm going to take care of it and it's going to work. So, that is something that's just been part of who I am. But that loss of that job at that particular time was rough. And I thought about that because of the loss of all the people, the jobs that's happening right now. I mean, it's just devastating when so many people are losing jobs all at the same time, and life is changing for those families. And in many cases, it may not in the beginning seem that it's going to be for your good, but I have to say, even when I lost my job back then, I never missed a beat. I never missed a beat. God continued to bless me with other positions. He really did. And at the time, I'll say this real quick so we can get back onto the stages. I'll say this because when I got laid off, I just felt like, what am I going to do now? I didn't want to, I was 6 miles from home. 6 miles from my door to my job. It might not even be 6 miles. It might not even be that far. But I believe it was 6 miles from my door to my job. And I did the last thing I wanted to do was to have to commute someplace. And of course, I remember going on interviews, and there was no jobs in Manassas. I actually take that back. I did find one job in Manassas that I was at for a short period of time. But after that, I actually ended up having to travel, to Fairfax and then to Tyson's, and then I even had to sit in Maryland at some point. So when I think about that, we all have to be resilient. We've got to be able to get things, we got to rally and see who we are and keep moving forward. So that's been my motto all my life. Don't give up. Don't give up. So I know some folks out there are struggling with what's going on when it comes to their livelihood. Just give it to God and just go. When I say give it to God, I would give it to God, and I would do the resume thing. I would go to the interview. I would do all the things. And sometimes those interviews were not good. They were not. I'm going to tell you right now, sometimes I go to interviews and there were people like, I could tell that they did not want someone like me in the place. I could tell, I could feel it, and they would, in fact, let me tell you about one time. I sat there for the interview, and the lady walked by this reception area, and then she walked back. And I looked at her, and I thought, I wonder if that's the lady who's going to interview me. All of a sudden, she was sick. She was sick. She couldn't interview me. So anyway, there's people that look like us that people just don't want to deal with, but I did not let that stop me. I did not let that. So like I said, don't give up. Don't give up, because God's got a special plan for each one of us. So that's a little sidebar. It was from work. And that was a long time ago, but God continued to strengthen me for my journey. And that's why I call this my go-to shoe, faith, hope, and love, because you have to have that faith that you can't see it, but God's going to work it out. And there's, I want to read this scripture, Isaiah 40:31, and I don't know that one by heart like I'd like to, so I'm just going to read it to you. But it says, but those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. We will soar on wings like eagles. We will run and not grow weary. And then it says but I'm saying we will walk and not be faint. And I think about that because I think about how, my go-to shoe, because it's a walk. And like I said, sometimes the walk is smooth, sometimes it's rocky, sometimes you need different treads because it's so tough. But yet you continue to put the right shoe on and keep it moving. Because you've got that faith, the substance of things hoped for, evidence not, you can't see it, but you know it's working out. And then you always have the love of the Father to assist you, be in you, and just make sure that you get all the things done. So, that being said, I kind of did a little sidebar when I was talking about, that loss of a job. But I know that that's something that people are going through. And this whole podcast is about live on, strength, and soul, because it's important to live on. Because there's people that depend on us. Not so much for our livelihood. Of course, yes, parents are taking care of their children, but as you get older, you might not have to take care of your children like that. And maybe sometimes you are, but not always. That's not always the case. But they depend on us just being there for who we are, just being able to sit and talk to our children, our family members, our friends. They just want to be there with us. And in order for them to be there with us, we have to be, how can I say, we need to have it together. Now, are we always going to have it together? No, maybe not. But we want to be intentional and we want to be present when people want to talk to us. We've got to be intentional. We've got to be present. We've got to be there with them as they're having these conversations with us. So anyway, that's a little bit of a sidebar, but back to acceptance of the loss of a loved one. I call it the new normal. This is the new normal when you're talking about the loss of a loved one, and now the holidays, the birthdays, Christmas, Thanksgiving, all that. It's not like it was, and that's why I say it's the new normal. You might want to call it the new reality, which is that as well. But it's life the way it is now versus the way it once was. So it's that existence of the way, you have to rally in that existence of the way it is now. And like when I was reading Isaiah, he's going to give us strength. And I think about that, because that's why it's daily. It's not like this is not a sprint. It's a journey. You take one day at a time. And sometimes I say it's step by step by step, step by step by step. So, we have to really embrace that new normal. And that's what I have learned to do. This particular time of year for me, this is a tough time. Starting, August through December. I'm just saying it's not easy. August 4th, have been gone 8 years, August 4th. And then, I've always loved the fall. It's my favorite time of year. And I remember when Hollis passed, I remember thinking, oh my gosh, is this going to be it's not going to be the same. It's not going to be the same. I used to feel, my body felt different in September. I just felt like, just rejuvenated there's something about the fall that I just feel good about. I don't know, inside and out, I just feel great when September would come. And after Hollis passed, I remember thinking that first year, not the 1 year anniversary. And I remember thinking, September is coming. This is my favorite time of year. It still remained my favorite, but it was different. It was different. And it's back to, that's that new normal, the way things are today, not the way it once was. And I have learned to embrace that acceptance of the way that it's not going to be the way it was. It never is going to be the way it was. Never. That ship has sailed. It's gone. It's not coming back. So it's life is the new normal. And there's nothing wrong with thinking about the way it once was. That's okay. But in our acceptance, we begin to rally in who we are. We begin to recognize the way things are today. We become resilient in the way things are. We learn to be resilient. At least for me. I've learned to be resilient in the way things are today. But I like to rally in it because it just helps me pick up myself and keep moving forward And that's why I like my line, hashtag keep it moving, because when you're in acceptance mode and you're in that hope mode and you want to continue to strive, you want to continue to strive forward. It's one of those things that it's not a choice, to be honest. It's something that we have to do. Let me break it down to Pauline. It's not a choice for me. It's something that I have to do. I have to rally. Because, I think about my existence and rallying in my existence. I've got to understand that, yes, I'm going through the stages of grief, and there's days where, we talked about, that, the forgiveness piece. That was that one stage. Which one stage when I was talking about forgiveness? Which one was I talking about forgiveness? And I think that was in the depression part, because that's where I noticed as I was talking about, I was struggling. And I too believe that it's okay to struggle, because that's part of life. You gotta struggle sometimes, right? So in that struggle though, you still have to continue to embrace that struggle as you move forward, if that makes sense. And I told you, for me, my faith is what really continues and allows me to rally in who I am and to keep moving forward. Because some days it can be tough, just like it is for everyone else. Because no one escapes this. No, this is not something that it happens and you good. No, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen like that. But you learn to be that person of resilience. You learn to rally in your situation. You learn to recognize that this is the way it is. And you learn to accept the new normal. And you learn to smile again. And you learn to laugh again. And you learn the joy. You learn to have that joy deep down on the inside. Yes, that type of acceptance. That even though times are not the way you would like them to be, you still can rally and recognize and be resilient in Him, who's the author and the finisher of our faith. Yeah, that's the kind of God we serve. So, I just wanted to stop by and talk about acceptance. And I believe, the stage of acceptance signifies coming to terms with the loss and recognize the reality of the situation. Sometimes we don't like reality. In fact, I dare say most of the time, we don't really like the way things are in reality. Even what's happening today, it's very tough, right? So, but when you accept your situation, when you rally, and the best way I can say it is when it comes to loss. Yes, you can love that person, but we have to understand that each one of us, we're just here for a season. Just a season. And none of us know how long that season's going to be. And although we love each other to the utmost, that's why it's important for us to do what we can while we can do it. God loved us first. And now there's a purpose for you, for me, for all of us. And in that purpose, we have to rally and see what He would have us to do. Because at the end of the day, it's not about us. Not about you. It's not about me. It's about what He would have us collectively to do individually, sometimes it's collaborative with others, but it's about what he would have each one of us to do to move forward in life. So, that being said, acceptance. Rally in the acceptance. And when I say rally, begin to do some things that you know that you would love to do for you. Rally. Do something purposeful in yourself for him. Recognize that, yes, life is not the way it once was. It's a new normal. And that's okay. That's okay. You might not like it, but recognize that you might not feel like you did before, but there's still joy. There's still love. And above all, there's hope. And there's faith. So whatever that loss might be, whether it's a job, whether it's a divorce, whether it's a loved one, every one of those losses has some serious hurt and pain with it. But we can take on acceptance. We can take on love. We can take on hope. We can take on faith, knowing that God is working it all out for our good, So, rally, recognize, and be resilient so that you know God is working it out. He's working it out. He's strengthening you for the cause. He's strengthening each one of us for the cause of Him. And we'll all be working this thing out. We'll all be working this thing out. There are so many losses. Hey, how about the loss when it comes to as we age? We're not the way we once were. That's a loss. We're not who we were when we were 20. When you're 30, you're not who you were when you're 20. When you're 40, you're not who you are when you're 30. When you're 50, you're not the same as you were when you're 40. When you're 60, you're not the same as when you were 50. When you're 70, you're not the same as when you were 60. When you're 80, not the same as when you're 70. When you're 90, it's not the same when you're 80. When you're 100, it's not the same when you were 90. Yeah. There's all kind of losses that we each have to deal with, and we all have to accept. But guess what? You can rally, whatever stage you're in, and you can recognize, and you can see God, and watch God, and be resilient in each one of those facets of your life. Each one of those seasons, watch God, watch you. So, on that note, that's our acceptance. That 7th stage of grief. Next week, I've got a surprise for you, something special we're going to do. It's a little different, so I'm excited about it. So I hope that you all will stay tuned and watch for next week. And I hope that as you go through these stages of grief, you will be strengthened as you go the journey, as you walk the journey. And then later on, not now, but I have now written my own stages of, I'm not going to say, I call them something a little bit different, but I've got 7, and I'll be sharing that with you later on. So anyway, I love you all. I really do. And I want the absolute best for you, for me, for all of us. That as we walk this journey of life, that we live it with His strength, that our souls would be strengthened, that we wouldn't be weak, because He that lives within us is going to give us the strength to continue the journey. So, on that note, thank you. Love you all. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. May God just strengthen you for this week Just take, we're going to take 1 week at a time. May he strengthen you for this week and all that you've got to get done. Whatever it is, he's going to do something miraculous in each one of your lives. Love y'all. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. See you soon. Bye-bye.